Hello everyone, it's D to the B here to roast another episode of Transformers Cyberworld. Now, I won't say this episode is terrible, but it is boring and a huge waste of time. So it starts off with the Autobots, Bumblebee and Optimus analyzing the ship, but then Scorponok comes out of the sand once again and they begin to scan Scorponok. And Optimus asks, well, and B's like, no cover. The ship is right in the open, and that Scorponok looks like a mean bag of bolts. And then B asks, are you sure that ship can help us figure out where we are? And Optimus says, maybe. Maybe? What do you mean, maybe? Optimus saying, but we need to get on board. Bumblebee jumps off the tree that he's on top of to look at the ship and says, I'm glad we're risking this for a maybe. Then Optimus says, it's that or we go back in the jungle and face the furious Dinobot. But then Optimus looks over and apparently they have a crate drop. But of course none of them know what a crate drop is and they're curious about it. But then they begin to hide because they hear footsteps, and it turns out we get to see Grimlock again, but this time with a fellow Dinobot, that being Dinobot Snarl. Grimlock says, finally, another crate drop. And then Snarl transforms saying, are we going after it? We could really use the upgrade. And then Grimlock makes the comment, the last upgrade I got was this, which was like a scrape on Grimlock, which I'm guessing was from his encounter with Optimus in the first episode. And Grimlock says, we go. This one is ours, and then transforms. And also, a nitpick here. So Grimlock's speaking stupid, but Snarl isn't. Now this is weird. But then Bumblebee and Optimus come out of the bushes and B is like, did you hear that? Upgrades. That's what we need up against Scorponok. And then Optimus actually says something that sounds like his character and says, not wise to seek a conflict with Grimlock, Bumblebee. And then Bumblebee begins to gloat a bit and says, come on, we could take him. But then his arm starts hurting after throwing a punch because of his incident with Megatron, which Optimus also points out, saying, no, you're not ready to fight after your run-in with Megatron. Because B was a complete idiot in that episode. Let's work together. Okay. Why did this go wrong? But then B brushes off Optimus's really good point. B says, if I wasn't ready, could I do this? Then grabs a log, throws it at a tree, but it bounces off the tree, and then bounces off another tree, and then almost hits Optimus and B. And Optimus is like, don't throw logs. Then B says, sorry, and I'm right. And if we start driving now, we could beat them to the upgrade. And then Optimus is considering it for a bit, and then B's like, see, we could do it. Then they leave and head off. Then we get to see new area of the jungle is full of mud, rocks, and a mountain. Optimus is jumping on the rocks that are in the mud to get the upgrade and says to B, be careful, the mud is thick. And we transition and B is already stuck in the mud and he says, too late for that. Then Grimlock says, well, Little Prime has tiny friend. He says that. It sounds as stupid as you think it is. And Grimlock's like, hello, tiny friend. Optimus tells B to steady, Bumblebee. They're not ones to mess with. What do you mean? You've met Snarl for the first time. He wasn't in the last episode, you idiot. And Bumblebee says, who's this rust bucket again? Grimlock gets offended. He's like, me? Grimlock? Points his gun arm at B and says, you will learn, and then shoots him. But Grimlock, you did one good thing. Job. This Bumblebee so much. And then Optimus begins to start battling with Grimlock and Snarl, where he's walking on mud. What? How are you walking on mud? Also, why was B sinking in the mud earlier? This is not the only time the plot convenient mud does this. But anyway, B notices a vine on a log, unties it, and then uses it to get Snarl off of Grimlock by tying Grimlock's feet together. Snarl jumps off Grimlock and begins to battle Bumblebee and tries to kill him. Then Bee kicks him in the face and he gets like a migraine. Then Bee does the like in the cartoons when they do something, like, I probably shouldn't have done that. But Snarl decides to slash at Bee again. But before he does, Optimus rams into Snarl. And Bee's like, I totally had him. And Optimus is like, quick, go up and grab the crate. And like, but I can help fight. But transition back to Snarl, where Snarl says I could use some help to Grimlock. And Grimlock's like, oh yeah, good idea. Then transforms with his feet still tied, but then takes care of the vine that was tied to his feet. And then Grimlock charges back into battle, where we get to see Bee climbing the mountain trying to get the power-up. But then Bee notices that Optimus facing both Snarl and Grimlock. But then Bee is an idiot once again and decides to throw a rock at Snarl to help Optimus. Now, somebody could say, but he was obviously trying to help Optimus against vicious Dinobots. He's just trying to be a good friend. Well, yeah, but also, he's revealed his position, which gives bots attention of what's going on. Then they can try to stop him. Bee should have just hurried up, grabbed the power up, and then help Optimus with Grimlock Snarl. He seemed he had it under control. Bee revealed his position for no reason. Why is he an idiot in this continuity? Then Bee throws another rock at the Dinobots, but it's at Grimlock, and Grimlock dodges it. Grimlock shouts Snarl as he puts his Dinobot hands on the ground, going to throw him to the mountain. And now we got one of the other confusing shots in this episode. I'm going to break down and also show the clip so I can explain to you why this is wrong and how does this even work. Grimlock, as I said earlier, Snarl jumps on to Grimlock's Dino Head hand. Grimlock throws him, and then he's aiming towards Bee, planning to stab him. And nowhere, he's just gone. Where is he? But then he's on top of the mountain, and then proceeds to do the same thing. How does this scene work? Why did you change scenes just to stab him in a different way? It makes no sense. Then Snarl and Bee fall off. Once Bee and Snarl hit the ground, Bee starts driving towards the rock that Optimus is at, and Snarl follows him. And then 4 of them are on the big rock. And again, the convenient mud is letting Bee run through mud without sinking or leaving a footprint. But once they're on the rock, Optimus stands back and the convenient mud decides to change its mind and decides to be mud. But then Bee and Optimus look at each other, nod, starts running through the mud, where then Snarl and Grimlock sink in mud out of nowhere like Bee did earlier. Bee and Optimus are running towards the object backwards. Man, they're doing this Mater style. Then Bee transforms and jumps off the rock and starts spraying mud everywhere at them, even though he could obviously have the risk of being trapped in the mud himself. If you're in a big area of mud and you have a car, don't do this at all. It's car 101. But then Grimlock begins to chuckle and says, little man is not enough for us, and then starts shooting with his gun arm as Optimus and Bumblebee are climbing the mountain. Grimlock misses though, even though it seems like he was trying to start an avalanche, but then he runs out of bullets. But then a rock lands on the ground, or this like rock volcano thing. You know those rocks where it has like hot steam, and if you put something on it, it just shoots up. It's a common trend in video games, or at least some of them. If anyone knows what these things are called, can you please let me know? But then Grimlock and Snarl start running through the mud and rocks to get there and beat Bee and Optimus to the upgrade. And Bee and Optimus are running towards it, but then at the same time, Grimlock and Snarl make it to the mountain, to race to grab the upgrade. Grimlock says we Rusty Buckets have a few tricks too. Optimus tells B that we can take them, and then B's like, no, I'll get the upgrade, you hold them off. And then Grimlock tries shooting at them, but of course his cannon arm gets jammed by mud somehow. What? How did this happen? Like, his cannon didn't go in the mud. And even if it did, how did his gun get jammed with mud? Grimlock's cannon was clearly working earlier. So how does this make any sense? Does the mud teleport as well as snarl? How does this work? Then Grimlock says that I guess mud is a big problem that it is. So then the two transform, and Optimus and the Dinobots are beginning to battle. And then B opens the upgrade kit where he gets a gun, and then also Optimus's energy axe. Finally! And Optimus makes the comment, don't throw weapons, and then Grimlock's coming by Optimus, he throws his axe, and then he makes this comment which annoyed me.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Well, that was nice while it lasted. Optimus actually feeling like an Optimus. Yeah, it was nice while it lasted. But then B shouts Optimus, and with Optimus's magic powers and his axe, manages to move Grimlock, a much bigger Cybertronian, at the front so B can shoot him. And then Snarl begins to charge at Optimus, which then Optimus slashes and blocks Snarl from hitting him. But then B jumps on top of Optimus and shoots Grimlock once again. Then Optimus throws his axe, and then it comes back like Thor's hammer. But that's not how it... You know what? Never mind. Let's just finish it up this episode. But then Optimus throws his axe again, but this time at Snarl. B shoots at Grimlock. Then, of course, Grimlock steps back, and the mountain starts falling apart a bit, or at least the edge. You know that cliche. And then we get a cool shot of Optimus Grimlock going like, ugh. And then Grimlock stomps his foot like he's a toddler. And then Grimlock says, enough Snarl, we go. Next time, they won't be so lucky. Grimlock also says as he's walking away, stay out of my way, Optimus. Wait, regardless if they got the power-ups or not, why don't you still finish them? Depending on the game, you could take it from them. You know what? Whatever. Bumblebee then says, maybe you should stay out of our way. And then B says, do we even know where we're going next? Where Optimus begins to scan, and we get another beam, and Optimus says, this way. And then the episode ends. Oh my gosh, this episode is such a waste of time. Slightly better than the first two episodes, but again, that's barely saying much. I would at least give this episode a 1 out of 10. But we'll see if it gets better. I very much doubt it, but let's see. Alright, what'd you think of the episode? Tell me in the comments. And